Red 2 standing by, all 4 lit and in the green. Welcome back to Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. We're right outside the Deepwood Shrine and ready to delve into our first dungeon. This is a fairly short one if you know what you're doing, and gives us quite a versatile item. We do have a bit of exposition to deal with though. So, this would be the Deepwood Shrine the Minish Elder spoke of. He said something about there being monsters inside, didn't he? Hey now! No reason to be afraid or anything. I'll be waiting right here. No, wait, what am I saying? I'm not letting you leave me alone out here. However, the monsters we have to fight are pretty basic in all fairness. You will encounter them in various Minish size caves and roads. For example, Slugglers. Very slow moving enemies. Couple of quick sword swipes and they will go down. Some of them will drop from the ceiling. Defeating them is optional, but they're fairly easy to take down. If you manage to hit them on their belly as they drop from the ceiling, then you will actually take them out in one blow. Fairly simple puzzle though, just step on those and we get a key, but we will of course get exposition about the locked door. A little annoying in all fairness. But there are many very nice touches in the graphics, the way the leaves jut over the walls, the discarded ones on the ground. Little things like this, you can see they've really gone all out in making this look beautiful. It's a very nicely designed dungeon in terms of aesthetics. There's a locked door here. See if you can find a key to open it. But fortunately we do have that. Interact. And of course don't go into the deep water. There's our point about defeating Slugglers in one shot. Do you see that lever? I think you should be able to pull it. Just stand in front of it and press R to grab it, then press down to pull. And there we are. Now these mushrooms, you can't really do anything with them. They don't knock us around. But we can grab them and pull them back. And when we pull them back far enough, they'll catapult us over gaps. Those are fairly handy. You will see a few of them around various areas. You can access them as regular Link as well. Quite a nice little touch. And those little vines and, I think, small flowers growing on the wall, very nice as well. The music is a little on the simple side, but it's still a very nicely detailed dungeon. Now these enemies, puff stools, they're invulnerable. We can't do anything to them, we can just push them out of the way. Wow! Look at the size of that barrel! Oh right, how silly of me. It's not big, we're just small. I mean, of course, given my username, I have to bring up the inevitable line. Look at the size of that thing! So, we've made that barrel a little wobbly. If we head in here, we'll be able to traverse to the other side and just pop out here. We have a couple more puff stools we can push back. We can't do anything about those spores. But if we move around here, push that there. That's freed everything up very nicely, so we'll be able to rotate this barrel when we go in it. What? Hey, be careful, my lad! The barrel just moved! So we basically get to run like a hamster wheel. And there we are, out the other side. Now, I always forget the name of these enemies, so I'll pop it up on screen. They're fairly basic adversaries. They will scramble around sometimes, but you can take them out pretty easily. They are fairly durable, though. Now, if we go the long way across, we can get the item in this chest, which is our dungeon map. This will tell us where we're going. And that's just the basic info. We will need to pull this mushroom back to this. And there we go. A couple of slugglers and pestos. Those flies come in a couple of different varieties, and Eslow's prattling again. What we need now is something to hold down this switch. So, something you're not going to use that often. Pestos generally don't flinch, which does make them particularly annoying. But there we go. And I think that sound effect that played when the bridge was extending also appears in the Oracle games, which were on the Game Boy. They really, well, Game Boy Color, let's be technical. They really, really need some more love. I wouldn't mind seeing them get the same treatment Link's Awakening did. So we'll pop down here. And more exposition. Once you take hold of something with R, use the plus pad to push or pull it. This is extremely important, so I hope you take pains to remember it. What we can do is pull that out of the way. And grab this to pull it back, and then we get our key. So we do have a little bit more work with the barrel to do. Thankfully, we still have that open, and we can head back. Now, interesting note, there are 2 heart pieces in this dungeon. One is right there. We will be able to get it a little later on. So, in we go, and let's move this barrel around. So once we get here, we can just go through this doorway easy as you please. And of course, there's a little bit of catapult work to do. Grab the mushroom. And now, we will need to step on this so that we can make our way across. Stuck the landing very nicely. So of course, if we have the flippers, we'd be able to swim around, but we don't, so we can't. Now, there's a little bit of puzzling work that needs to be done here. It's not quite as straightforward as you think, because we know we need to pin that switch down. So what we'll do instead is pull this one over here. Then we can push that other one, and away we go. Oddly enough, Link doesn't seem to strain with the effort of pushing things compared to pulling things. Alright, something of a mini-boss fight as such. Interesting to note that unlike most Zelda games, we don't get the spin attack, or at least a form thereof, very early on. We'll actually get that after the first dungeon. So there is our small key. We can head up this way now. Deeper into the dungeon, can we... We can't throw pots over there. We also can't take pots through doorways, which is a little sad, because they can be very useful against enemies, as I'm sure you've seen. Now, we do need to head over to the left here, but what we should do, just for the sake of it, is pop down here. We can set a few things up for later. Make sure to push that there, so that we will gain access to that when we come to it. Saves a little bit of time. And there's our compass as well. Granted, it's not that important in this dungeon because it's remarkably easy, all things considered. It is only a beginning dungeon. So, sometimes you'll find puff stools hiding under those mushroom spores, and they will spread more of them. Be particularly careful. We will need to get up there, of course. Now, let's see. They will release spores when defeated, so be careful of that. It'll just hamper your movement, but nothing too severe. Now, we do see that there is an open doorway and a locked doorway. We can't get through the spider web there, so we have to open this up. And here's our mini-boss, the Caterpillar. Smack it in the nose. And strike at the heart on its tail. It'll get angry like a wiggler, but will eventually calm down. A few cycles of this and you'll see it defeated. And there we go, our dungeon item is the Gust Jar. Only appearing in this game, you can obviously draw things in and fire them out, as it says. So, we can suck up those spider webs, but the only ones we need to clear up are the ones on the door. Because we go down and we get our heart piece. If we head back to this room, we can clear out all the spores. Interesting note. You can suck up pods and use them as projectiles to defeat enemies. If you can suck certain enemies into the Gust Jar, some of them will stick, and you can use them as projectiles too. And we have some mysterious shells. These will actually be very useful for a side quest later on, and it's a very lengthy one. I don't think we should be messing around with that until later, in all honesty. I'll of course show you when the time is right, because I am going for 100% completion. But it's not a major concern just yet. There we are, we've activated the warp that leads up there. There is actually a heart piece there. So, if you suck away all the spores from the puff stool, you'll stun them and defeat them. There's no real purpose to doing this. And it's interesting to know that the Gust Jar is not that good at stunning enemies. It will be very handy for defeating smaller ones, but aside from that, not a lot. It will still be useful though, so what we shall do is head back to the start of the dungeon for now. Because that spiderweb in the middle of the barrel is of course very suspicious, but we have a heart piece to grab. So some of our enemies will respawn, but slugglers are way too easy to avoid. Just push that. And there you go, we already have a new heart container. Not too shabby, there are 44 heart pieces in the game and actually one full heart container outside dungeons. So let's move this. That lines up and suck this away. Down we go, somehow managing to survive the fall. We can't suck that pesto up through walls. But what we can do is draw this lily pad into us. And of course now Eslo has something to say. Now what? Unless we find a way to travel by water, we won't be going much farther. So, our Gust Jar basically serves as a means of propulsion. We use it to move along our merry way. Let me quickly check the map because I always seem to wind up going the wrong way here. And there's a nice demonstration of how the Gust Jar works when dealing with pestos. So, let's quickly get our map up. Yes, we do need to go around that corner first. Also sends us back a fair way, so mashing the button can actually be a bit quicker for movement than one long jet stream. That also wasn't very smart. Now, if we move carefully, we can get to those stairs. We need to get one of those pots onto that platform, onto that switch. Sorry. I think this is really the only time we actually have to use pots to pin down switches, because they were fairly heavy in some of the handheld games. For example, you needed the power bracelet to pick them up in Link's Awakening. And it was very nice that you actually had the power bracelet registered to a button, because otherwise it was just horrendous having to listen to that "this looks really heavy" over and over again. Thankfully, Capcom was able to put what they learned doing the Oracle games into use here. They made some pretty good efforts with the Oracle games. They built on Link's Awakening, the same game engine, and some very interesting playstyles with some pretty cool items along the way. And they've made another interesting game here. It's not necessarily a world beater, but it does very, very well for itself. So if we head up here, we can now make our way around this room and get that last item. So, be careful, of course, but the Gust Jar is very good for crossing gaps. And there we are. This will take us back to the start of the dungeon, and we'll need to go upstairs. I think we have to go to the left first. We have absolutely everything we need, and our boss fight will be coming up shortly. Well, that's kind of optional. You may be able to get it if you go the other way, but 20 rupees, nothing to sneeze at. Our maximum wallet capacity for now is 100, but we will be able to get a better one shortly, and you can actually get better ones by doing kinstone fusions too. We will of course get to covering those. Across here is our boss battle. Interestingly, our boss is just an ordinary sized choo-choo. At least it would be if we were ordinary sized. But we're now facing a gigantic green choo-choo. In a pretty nice touch, honestly. And one more for luck, as our boss appears. Those pots will give you hearts if you need them. Basically, draw away its base with the Gust Jar and bait it into toppling over. Then just lay into it. It might land on you a few times, but if you've got that extra heart container, it's not going to be a very big issue. It really isn't that hard to take down. How did I not take damage then? That time I did. It will get a little faster. And there we are. This cycle will see it defeated. It's usually about 3 cycles to take out each boss. And there we are. One green choo-choo knocked out of the park. And our first element is acquired. Interestingly enough, the earth element is purple, I suppose brown's not really... It doesn't necessarily have great connotations because it's either kind of boring or it's associated with really, really tacky fashion like the 1970s. If you ever want an example, look up the 1977 Brownlow medal and the amazing brown velvet suit eventual winner Graham Teasdale wore. Purple is a bit more of a heroic colour. It also has very high class associations because purple dyes were historically quite rare, so only the upper crust could actually wear purple. Now, with all that pointless trivia, and seriously, do check out that suit, it is an absolute ripper. We have ourselves a heart container and a way out of the dungeon. Ah, we've got the earth element. You must go tell the elder at once. Can't quite remember the voice I did for the elder, but we'll see. We'll finish up by talking to him. We can talk to Festari as well. You retrieved the earth element from that fiend-infested shrine? Incredible! Humans are amazing creatures. The elder is sure to be amazed too. Well, we have a fair bit of approval from people. Maybe I should just get out of this sleepy little town and move to the city. Or maybe I should go to the mountains. The folks out there seem to have fun. I think some of the dialogue will change as we go. But let's go and talk to the elder and that will wrap things up. So, you have found the earth element. You are blessed with much courage and strength for one so young. If your conviction holds strong, head to Mount Crenel. There, you will find a man named Malari. Among all the Minish, there is no one more able to repair your sword. If you ask him, he will surely reforge the broken Picori blade. I shall send word to him in advance. Travel safely. You are brave, but there are many evils now in the world. Leave through this door here. It will take you out of the forest quickly. Great Elder, we are in your debt. We shall head for Mount Crenel at once. Now, that is actually a sewing needle that Gentari is holding. It's sort of like a sword for him. The manga actually mentions it as a weapon he brandished in a fight with a Kuko, which is where he got a feather from as well. Wait, Library's got the Kuko. Oh wait, I think that's Library actually, sorry. Library is Gentari's brother. I don't know which pronunciation is correct. I'm rambling, but we will meet Library later on. So we are on our way out of the Minish Woods, but we do need to make a stop into this little house, which we'll do in the next episode. And you can even see Link swinging his sword a little bit. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.